Hi there, Martin here. Thank you very much indeed for joining me for this week's turning project video. I hope you are all well and have had a super creative week in your own workshops since I last saw you. Huge welcome to all of my new subscribers. I've recently topped 4,000 subs, which is great. So a big warm welcome to all of you new guys, and also a big warm welcome to everybody who has been following me for some time. Weeks ago I mentioned segmented bowl kits that are being produced by my friend Leon at a brand new company called Would You Believe It, and this week I have turned the sample kind of prototype kit, and I have to say I loved it. Now, I have never been interested in segmented turning before because I don't have the patience, the inclination, the time or the skill or the machinery in order to cut the segments needed for a segmented bowl. I have always enjoyed seeing segmented work, and the skill of those guys is incredible, but I don't have that kind of skill to cut all of those pieces and stuff. So the bowl kit is absolutely perfect for me because, well, anybody that's interested in segmented turning, it's perfect for me because it saved me hours of time cutting the individual segments, and it's just left me with the happy task of deciding how I want to lay the segments into their rings, and then how I wanted to lay the rings out onto into the bowl. Now this one is oak, iroko and sapele. There's another one over there with some yew and walnut in as well, and it was great. I absolutely loved doing it, and the end result, as my first ever segmented piece, I'm really happy with. So I would absolutely recommend, if you are interested in getting into segmented turning, then to give one of these kits a go. They're not quite ready for the market yet, but they will be soon, and when they are, I will do another video of the segmented kits that shows sort of the final production, as it were. But there are going to be lots of different varieties and different combinations of woods, and the creative possibilities are endless. So I'm dead chuffed with how that's come out, and I think, Leon, you've done a brilliant job in actually coming up with the idea of a kit in the first place, and I'm very much looking forward to having a go at another one, frankly. So without further ado, here is how I turned my very first segmented piece using a segmented bowl kit. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all again soon. Here I am with the 9-ring kit. I glued up some of the rings yesterday to give myself a little bit of a head start, and this one has been sanded back, and you can see that the joints are nice and tight on that ring, which is really helpful, of course. And today I need to glue up the remaining 5 rings plus a couple of the bases that also come with the kit. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to glue up this ring, which I'm going to use the U for the U segments, and also the, I think that's sapele inserts. So we're going to make a ring that looks a bit like that, which will be really pretty. Actually, I've chosen the woods because they complement each other. The nice deep brown of the sapele and the orange of the yew. So I'm going to tip all those out, and to help protect the workbench, so the ring doesn't stick to the workbench, I'm going to use the bag that the segments came in and glue up on there. But I need a couple of gloves on. Oops. It's so cold in the workshop, the gloves are actually becoming quite brittle, and they're also fairly small. So let's get the gloves on. For this I'm just going to use Titebond Original, which is what I used on Purple Art a few weeks ago. The kits also come with the Jubilee clips, which I'm going to use to bind the ring together and make sure the joints are nice and tight. So I'm going to start by putting a decent coat of the glue on both sides of the U, rub it together so we get a nice coverage on both faces of the pieces. Like so. I keep on saying like so, does it wind you up? And then I'll just keep on going round the ring. Doesn't look very round at the moment, but when I get the Jubilee clip onto it and tighten it up, it will all come round, I hope. And there is a ring glued up. It's a bit of a mess, but I would expect that really with a ring gluing up all those bits. So I'm going to do the remaining rings and then I'll show you what the set looks like when they're done. Done. I've glued up the last 5 rings and also another base. And now all I need to do is leave them overnight to dry. It's really cold in the workshop today, so I'm going to take them back into the house to dry out in the warm. As I was doing them, I gave them a little tap with the hammer just to make sure that they were all flat against the work surface. So that's going to leave me with less sanding to do tomorrow. So I'm really pleased with how they've turned out so far. It's actually quite fun gluing them up, but I really wouldn't fancy cutting them all. It just sounds like purgatory. But that's just me, and I think as a beginner's kit and getting into segmenting, then so far I'm enjoying it a lot. Yeah. Well, it's the day after I glued these rings all up, and I took them inside overnight, as you saw, and they've come out really well. So I've got to sand them down now and then figure out how I want to have them stacked. Because of the number of creative possibilities with these, I've got no idea how I want to actually have these rings stacked, or indeed how many pieces or how many bowls I want to make out of them. But to get the best idea, I'm not going to work it out yet. I'm going to sand them all down and then figure out what I want to do, stack them, look at them and see if there's any particular way that I want them stacked. So I'll undo these and then we'll go over to the sanding wheel and I'll show you how I'm going to sand them down. So over on the steering wheel, that's not right, over on the sanding wheel I've got one of the discs that I have glued up, and I've taken the Jubilee or hose clip off it, and because this piece is a little bit bigger than the sanding wheel, I'm going to rotate it round each time, so I make sure that I get a bit of an even cut on all sides. There's the first one done. It's come out really well, I like that. But when I stack it together with the others, I want to make sure that I get everything nicely lined up, and I want to be able to see all of the colours. So I'm going to sand off the edges as well of the piece, so when I stack them up together I can look at this kind of angle and see roughly how the bowl will look when I turn it. There we are. So that's knocked most of the glue and stuff off the edges, and that's all I need just to be able to see exactly what I want to do with it. Done all the sanding now, and I'm really pleased with how the rings have come out. But now I need to start thinking about how I would like the bowls to go together. Now I can either do one big one, or I can make 2 little ones, 3 little ones, but I don't know. So I've got a piece of scrap 18mm ply here, which I'm going to use as a topper for the bowls. So that becomes the top, so then I can screw that onto a faceplate. But you'll see that. But first, I need to figure out how I want to configure the bowls. And with all the ring choices that I've got, I don't know. So I'm going to have a play. I have decided on this one though. I'm going to have oak and sapele, and then this yellow stuff, which I think is indigo or iroko or something like that anyway. And then oak with oak inserts there, and then perhaps a nice chunky oak base. Yeah, that'll be quite nice, that one. And then walnut top. Now what I could have done is, because some of these rings and some of these pieces are the same size, I could have done, say, oak and U, or something like oak U, oak U, oak U, but I forgot. That's the thing with all these brilliant creative choices, I just don't know what to do, which is a good thing. And then I might do that one there, and then that base. A few minutes later I have decided what I'm going to do. I'm going to make 3 pieces, and I'm going to use a spare blank of oak that I've got to sit on the base of that one, which is just an extra thing. And I've drawn around the top piece of each one and numbered them. So this is number 1, number 2, and number 3. So now I'm going to take them up to the bandsaw, cut them out, and then glue them up. Back from the bandsaw, and I've cut each of the toppers out on the bandsaw. I've just done them roughly because they're going to be turned away anyway. So I'm going to start with ring number 1, which is oak and sapele. Come on, glue. It's cold in the workshop today. Again. So I'm going to put on some glue. Smear it all round to get a good coverage. And then smear it all round like that. Line it up with the pencil marks. And then do the next one. One glued up bowl, and all the joints look fairly good. Yeah, there's no horrific gaps and everything's nicely in line. So I think I'm going to call that one done. I'll do the other two and then leave them to dry over the weekend and then turn them on Monday. Yeah. Okay. It's Monday, all of the bowls are glued up, and I've tried doing one bowl off the faceplate, but I came across a problem. When I took the faceplate off, here's the next one with the faceplate on, but the first one I had with the faceplate, when I took the screws out, I sheared the tops of the screws off, which isn't particularly good. And also on going down, and I tried to part the bowl off, as you can see here, or part the plywood top off the bowl, but it didn't work because I hit the screws, and also I discovered after getting inside that the screws had actually gone through the walnut rim and into the U-ring beneath that. So that bowl is a write-off, unfortunately. So with the next bowl, what I've done is I've put the screws much closer to the centre of the piece, or closer to the centre of the faceplate, so I'm away from the rim, which in this case is U and Supeli, I think that is, or yeah. So here's the next bowl ready to go. Let's get it on the chuck and see what we can do with it. I've put the piece on the lathe, and it's only slightly off centre on the base here, but I'm not going to worry too much about that, being my first ever time at segmenting. So it's all looking good, nice sharp bowl gouge. I'm going to leave the lathe running fairly slow to start with, just until I get it round and have a vague shape to it. Okay, I'm getting there. It's coming on okay. I've put a tenon on the bottom. Now, for those of you who watch my videos regularly know that I normally turn with a recess or a mortise. But for this piece, because it's segmented, I'm going to use a tenon, and also because when I sanded the base down, the base segments, I over sanded one of the bits, hence why there's a gap here. So a tenon on the bottom is the way to go, which means I'm going to have to figure out a way of finishing the piece with a tenon, which is not something I've done before, so it's going to be another learning curve for me. So with the tenon there, I can now turn it round in the chuck, and or get it onto the chuck and turn off the faceplate waste block on the top of the bowl, and hopefully it will. Hopefully I'll have better luck with it than the first one. Now, what I did with the original bowl is part off, or rather part out, the centre piece by using the thin parting tool, and I think I'll do the same again here. Go down until it really changes sound and then just knock out the centre. Just as it started sounding really hollow, I knocked it out with a hammer and then used a screwdriver just to prise it out. And now I can safely turn off the top, the very top, and then start finishing the bowl on the inside. Wow, got there in the end. Plywood is really horrible, really horrible to turn, but I can now see the inside of the bowl, which I think is going to look quite nice. So with a freshly sharpened bowl gouge, again, I think I've sharpened it about 4 times so far, I can start taking out the inside of the bowl carefully, and being careful not to get any knocks on the segments on the inside. Well, I've finished hollowing it out. It was a little bit hairy at times, and the walls are okay. I'm quite happy with the walls. Right, it's time to finish it. I'll finish it down to 400 and then finish it inside and outside down to 400, and then I'll show you what I've got. There we go. I'm really pleased with how this has come out. It's sanded down to 400 on the inside and the outside. So to prepare it for finishing, I'm going to give it the clean with the meths again, just to take the dust out of it. Shame about the gap in the bottom the bottom section, but that's my fault for slightly over sanding it. Right, so that's that nice and clean. And now I can put on sanding sealer. No, I'm not. I'm going to put on some shellac. I don't use shellac very often. In fact, this is probably only the second time I've ever used it. So, shellac sanding sealer. Cool. That yellow's come up nicely. So the shellac has dried now. I did leave it overnight because I ran out of time in the shop yesterday. So now I'm going to rub it back with some, very lightly with some 0000 wire wool, just to take any of the surface, any of the shellac off the surface that might still be there. And then I'm going to take my new favourite Hampshire sheen, of course. Then I'm going to leave that to dry for a few minutes. I might give it a little blast with the heat gun because it's cold in the workshop again today, and then it'll be ready to give it a buff. Lovely. Right, I'm really pleased with that. Now I'm going to take it off the chuck and sand off the tenon on the back, because I don't have a jam chuck thing at the moment and I haven't really got time to be making one. So I'm going to do that quickly and then show you what it looks like the right way up. And here it is. Here is the finished piece. I'm really pleased with how this piece has come out. I've never done segmenting before, as I've said, and I've never really been that interested in it because of the rigmarole and the time it takes to cut the pieces and measure the angles and stuff, and that's a level of precision that I don't have as such, and I certainly don't have the patience to do it. So the kits that Leon is putting together are a really good introduction to segmented turning, because he does all the rigmarole of cutting and all of the, what I would consider to be the really boring bit of actually cutting and measuring the angles and stuff like that, which has left me the creative process of actually deciding where I want the individual segments to go, gluing up the rings, and then deciding where the segments are going to go in the piece. So I've really enjoyed putting this together. It's been a good learning curve, and I hope you've enjoyed the video of me going through the creative process with the essentially the prototype piece, or the prototype kit, which is this one. I'll do another video when we get the final kind of kit sorted out, and then they'll be available from my website and also Leon's as well. I'll leave you with a few pictures of the piece so you can get a nice clear idea of exactly what it's all about. So thank you very much indeed for watching. I hope you enjoyed the project today, and please do like, share and subscribe, and if you wish to, then please do leave a comment. And yeah, here are some pictures of the segmented bulb.